This episode is brought to you by Tide. Tide. They wash your clothes. Welcome to the thing that we're making and the thing that you're watching. My name is Tony, and we're going to talk about some movies. Last week, I did a very extremely past last minute video on MLK films, and there was only 3 of them. And I looked very, very tired. So I decided to snort a bunch of cocaine, and here we go! No, I'm just kidding. So today, we're going to talk about some movies. Ignore the mess. That mess is not for you. Okay, that's my mess. It's for me to deal with. This has nothing to do with you. So don't be so selfish. Okay? Okay. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about Locked Down, Disenchantment, WandaVision, Servant, Lord of the Rings, I'll explain later, and Sound of Metal, Ad Astra, and Promising Young Woman. Let's get started with the new releases. Locked Down. Locked Down was directed by Doug Liman, or Lyman. It wouldn't be a Tony video if I couldn't pronounce one of their names. And it is the first movie released that was actually filmed during COVID. I don't actually believe that, but it's definitely one of the first. And it stars Chiwetel Ejiofor, a name I'm also butchering, and Anne Hathaway, a very white name that's very easy to not wipe out on. It's about a couple who is going through a lockdown because some sort of virus is happening across the world. Sounds kind of familiar? I think you lived through it. You did. So this couple is having some dire times. We can tell that they are on the cusp of breaking up. But Chiwetel's character, which I should probably look up, stand by, Paxton, is the male protagonist of this film, and he is obviously going through a very rough time. In the beginning, he explains to his brother, half-brother, that he and his wife or girlfriend, I'm pretty sure girlfriend, I could look this up, but then it wouldn't be as lax as it is right now. His Anne Hathaway, which she is playing Linda in this, was going to break up with him before the news that there was going to be a lockdown. So they live in separate rooms in the same house, and they're very, very estranged. So he's kind of having like a mental breakdown of sorts. We slowly realize that he used to be a drug addict. He used to do heroin, but he cannot sleep, so he decides to take poppy seeds that are growing in the backyard to help him sleep. In any case, it was a very interesting character for him to play. He usually goes for more dramatic roles, but this is a romantic comedy, I'd say, because I laughed a lot. And Linda, played by Anne Hathaway, plays some sort of big exec. That's all you need to know. She's very, very, I'd say pompous and like Anne Hathaway-ish. I'm not calling Anne Hathaway pompous, but it's a very Anne Hathaway role. It is an Anne Hathaway role. I highly recommend it. I enjoy rom-coms, and I think with how they filmed it in a COVID world, it is very, very good. So I do recommend this film. But keep in mind, it is not only about COVID. It somehow turns into a maybe diamond heist. Ooh. Do not expect Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 12 or Ocean's 13 or Ocean's 8. Definitely not 8. But I highly recommend it. I looked online and not many people enjoyed it, but if you're a fan of Edge of Tomorrow, it's not an action movie, or Bourne Identity, it's not an action movie. Doug Liman is the same director, so I trusted him a lot, and I think that he rolled with it very, very well. So, watch Locked Down. I forgot what it was called. It's on HBO Max right now. Don't have it? Get it! Also, the movie Locked Down is written by Stephen Knight. If that name doesn't sound familiar and you're a Peaky Blinders. If you're a Peaky Blinders fan, it is that guy. So watch it. It is kind of like a play on film, and yeah, he wrote Peaky Blinders, so you're probably gonna enjoy it. But it is set in the today times, hence COVID. I also watched Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan and directed by Emerald Fennell. Fennell, that person. It is about a woman, a very promising young woman, who works in a coffee shop but used to go to college for the To be a lawyer. That's what I meant. It's about a promising young woman. However, she works in a coffee shop. She's very, very intelligent. But what she does is works in a coffee shop by day and moonlights as a drunken woman in bars and clubs that gets picked up by men who are pigs, of course, once a week, I want to say. And by the time that they bring her back to their place, they start to like feel her up, put their fingers inside of her, start making out with her. Very, very vulgar, awful things that a lot of men do, which is fucking awful. And she is actually not drunk. She is fake drunk. And she wakes up from her drunkenness to say, "What are you doing?" And each and every guy is like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything." And it's kind of like she's a superhero of sorts, teaching men that this shit is wrong, don't fucking do it, because it's something that happens every single night. We slowly get to realize that she was actually not a victim of sexual assault, but her friend was a victim of sexual assault by someone in college. And that person got away with it. Her friend was a person that made the accusations that weren't accusations at all. It was straight up fact. But everyone called it accusations, and they kind of ignored it because they didn't want anyone talking about it, when it is a conversation that should be told, and it's definitely a movie that should be filmed. That way it is pointed out to everybody. Now, the movie is fantastic. I highly recommend to watch it, but there is one other comment I should say, is that I can't go over what happens at the end, but it is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking, but also satisfying. Max Greenfield shows up, and it is the Schmidt that you do not love to hate. You hate to hate. I was laughing out loud at a lot of his scenes because he did it so damn good, but it's like the evil Schmidt of it all. That was great. The wedding scene's really, really hokey, but it's satisfying. However, it's a great film. Definitely check it out. I just had some problems with the end. But also, Bo Burnham is in this, and he plays the love interest of Carey Mulligan's character. And I get that he's supposed to be nerdy and dorky and quirky and all that shit, but there's a long, like, montage scene of them hanging out and her falling in love, and I just don't buy it. That's the only thing I didn't like about the movie. But it's, like, one of the most least important parts of the movie. Besides that, it's a great movie. Definitely check it out. Now, on to our final film, The Sound of Metal, otherwise known as Sound of Metal, starring Riz Ahmed from... what is that show called? The Night Of, which was a great miniseries. If you have not watched it, it was on HBO. But Riz Ahmed plays a drummer for a metal band. It's only him and one other girl, which is played by Olivia Cooke, a young actress who will be a household name very, very soon. She's excellent. She's one of my loves. We'll add that to the counter here. Riz plays Ruben, who is the drummer, and we open up with the scene where he's just staring at his girl and listening to the music and hitting these drums really fucking hard and meddling out, and you can tell that this guy's been through a lot. And we slowly realize that he was an addict, and his girlfriend was maybe not an addict, but suicidal. And I believe that they met in a Narcotics Anonymous class, maybe. In any case of what it is, she saved his life. Maybe not through music, but through love. And it seems like he does music specifically to have a connection with her. So we slowly get to him starting to lose his hearing. And he doesn't want to lose his hearing, because if he loses his hearing, he can't make music with her. And Olivia Cooke's character, Lou, is very, very concerned for him, doesn't want him to not only hurt himself, but go deaf completely. So she talks him into going to a sort of camp for the deaf, the mute, and I believe that there was a blind gentleman there as well. And the counselor makes it clear that the camp is not a cure to no longer be deaf. It is the cure to accept being deaf. So Riz's character, Ruben, struggles to accept this, and I can't go into too much detail, but the sound design is amazing. We actually have a bit more. They cut out sound very, very well. We experience him going deaf along with him, and I don't want to spoil too much, but it is on Amazon Prime. It is excellent. It is one of the best films, I believe, of last year. I believe that's when it was released. It is directed by Darius Marder. I don't know if he's done... I think that this is his directorial debut, but this was originally... No, he did another movie called Loot. I have no idea what that's about. But Sound of Metal was originally going to be Metalhead, which was going to be a documentary. Look up more of that online. They lost funding, so they made this fictional film that's partially based on a true story. That was going to be Derek Cianfrance, who did the I Know This Much Is True miniseries and The Place Beyond the Pines, which was co-written by Darius Marder, who directed this film. In any case, see Sound of Metal on Amazon Prime. It's excellent. It's very, very good. It's not feel good, but it is good. And it's hard to look away from the screen. These days when I watch movies, I easily get distracted, especially if there's a computer right here. But this film, it was hard to look away. I rarely paused, and I pause all the time in the streaming world, but it's great. Amongst the three, I think that this is the best film for sure. So, we have a comedy, we have a thriller comedy, and we have a straight-up drama. Now we're going to go through a smaller list of things that I've watched as well. So I'm not going to go into much detail about these other projects. I just want to mention that I rewatched the Lord of the Rings series. It's great! I don't know if you've watched it yet, but watch them. They are going to do... a television show or a mini-series, which is going to be set 1,000 years in the past. However, I watched these in preparation for the Hobbit films, so I will be doing a video on those shortly sometime soon. I rewatched Ad Astra after... when it first came out in theaters. This is a movie that stars Brad Pitt, by the way. It's a space movie that stars Brad Pitt. I watched it in theaters a while ago, but I walked out halfway through because I was just bored out of my mind. But I rewatched it. It's interesting. If you want to watch all Brad Pitt's films, watch it, but otherwise you can skip it. Lord of the Rings, don't skip. Disenchantment is an animated series on Netflix. Their season 3 just premiered last week. I've only watched the first episode, but in general, if you like Matt Groening or Groening, can't pronounce his name, he did The Simpsons and Futurama, this is a show for you. I think it's a great background show, but it is pretty funny. It is, I would say, a skip. But if you're a huge Simpson and Futurama fan, I recommend it. And WandaVision, I can't talk about because not only will I be talking about that with Josh, shout out to Josh, I'll also be talking about that with Dan as well. But it's pretty good if you like Marvel. And Servant. Servant is a great show. It's a great mystery series. I will go over that next video because I just wanted to highlight these 3 things and the new things that I watched. Besides that, that's all I watched. That's pretty new. So hopefully this video won't be 30 minutes cut down to 15. I just want to also say that I appreciate anyone that watches these in this entirety. I know it's not very flashy or cool. I would have added a sound effect there, but I don't have all of these effects yet. Hopefully in the next week, I will be getting more equipment to actually make these more enjoyable. But to everyone that subscribes, to everyone that likes, to everyone that acts like they watch it, but do support it, I really appreciate you. Shout out to Travis and Nick, because I know that they actually watch the full things. If there's anything you would like to watch, but don't know if you want to watch, why don't you comment and let me know? I'll watch it for you, and I'll tell you whether or not you should watch it. And if there's anything that you have watched, but you're curious about what I think about it, let me know. I'm still trying to get the run of things, trying to figure out how this is all going to work out. But next week, we will be starting a slew of videos based on Black History Month. So, tune in for that, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Sorry that this one isn't as funny, but at least I get to do this.